ready for this, Victoria?
Yeah, you got a lot of things on this one.
Victoria's over there doing hard research, y'all. But yeah, hey, this is Mackie. We're back with the Hidden Threads podcast.
Yeah.
We got a crazy topic today on corporate investigations.
Yes.
What do you know about those, Victoria?
I know very little about that. I'm about to learn.
Victoria has done a lot of training in those. I used to do a lot of corporate investigations back when I first started, but we kind of got away from it. But this year I got a concerted effort to get back into them, to start reaching out to these corporations that could possibly use this. But yeah, corporate investigations is a big one. That's where we get into intellectual property fraud, and we get into fraud in general. We'll talk about some cases with that. And we get into just looking at employees in general with background checks.
Okay.
So what do you think?
I think this is going to be interesting.
Very interesting,
Mm-hmm.
or just interesting?
Very interesting.
Okay. All right. So we've been saying something. We do the sound check before every time. And we've been saying new boot goofing.
New boot goofing.
We're trying to figure out where that came from. We couldn't find it on Google. So tell us where new boot goofing comes from. All right. The reason why we're saying I get new boots for Christmas. So, and Victoria has hers on too.
Ew.
She got her curb stompers on.
We're both new boot goofing.
New boot goofing. All right. So here we go. Let's get into intellectual property fraud. You may hear it referred to as IP fraud, intellectual property, right? That's where you as an individual or a corporation has invented something, or you have information that is vital to the marketplace that you created.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You created this thing, this process, or a product, or both. Okay. We had an incident where a company in Huntsville had invented a valve that goes on top of a tank they use for welding, and you can use it for other things. It goes on top of an acetylene tank. Okay. You can put it on top of an air tank as well. It's some kind of valve they invented. They started to describe it to me, and I was like, okay, great. Just send me a picture of it, and I'll see if they're using it, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, they described it to me a little bit, and I got pictures of it. And a guy that worked for them had left and gone and started manufacturing this and selling it. All right.
Yeah.
Just up the road.
Oh.
All right. So we had to get a lot of videos and photos of this going out of his building. And we did a lot of videoing of the product coming out. We could sit on the highway there on Shields Road.
Yeah.
And I hope I didn't describe where it was. I don't think I did. There's a lot of stuff on Shields Road. But and video just coming out with some close-up video shots from a public space. And it was used, and they actually shut his operation down.
Good.
So, yeah, it went on for a little while. This case did. The lawyer kept saying, we need more, we need more. So we kept getting video. And we're talking millions of dollars that was this person had taken from them going out. So yeah, that's a big deal. And this case resulted in our client saving a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because you shouldn't steal stuff from people and go and produce it as yours. It's no different than copywriting a book.
Right.
And just copying words and selling them and making profit as your own.
Is that white collar crimes?
It could be white collar.
Okay.
Yeah. I wouldn't consider this business a white collar.
Got you.
But anyway, it was white collar. Yeah. We got into it. It gets into that. We had another one where a company up the road here called Color Masters, and they had a security guard company. So we're going to get into security guards a little bit. So you have guards that sit around in uniform, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have what we call high threat protection, which is what I did overseas. A little bit of a higher level guard. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Anyway, they had guards, one of the larger security services. You talk about Alliance, Securitas, some of these big ones. They're kind of like the Walmart of guards.
Yeah.
All right. You get hired by them, and you basically sit at a desk, and you turn into an administrator. Mm-hmm. You are scanning tags and all those things. It's an important service to have a uniformed guard there. It shows it's a deterrent, right?
Yeah.
But if you get into it, these people don't make very much money. They get paid a couple dollars an hour, $10 an hour typically is where you start. Mm-hmm. And they're not trained very well. They have the minimum to get a state guard card, they call it. Mm-hmm. All right. Anyway, Color Masters had hired these folks, and they had some remote storage areas and big buildings where they stored this product they sold.
Yeah.
And they'd had some incidences where copper had been ripped out of the walls and sold, copper piping, copper wiring, all this. And there was supposed to be a guard there. So we started investigating, and we went to this place, this remote area, and showed there was never a guard. I actually just walked in the building several times with a camera. Nobody was there. Jeez. All right, just showing nobody was there where you're supposed to sign in and all that.
Yeah.
And we showed this for weeks on end. And our client actually sued this large security company for a lot of money. and got a lot of their money back, and they upgraded their guard service. We actually gave them some recommendations on guard services, and they did it. But let's talk about security guards a little bit. Yeah, when you hire these guards these days, yeah, you get security, but unfortunately, corporations look at security guards as no different as a commodity, like getting stripes painted on the parking lot.
Yeah.
All right, they want the cheapest,
Yeah.
and they want you to stay out of their way. They just want a uniform guard to sit up there. Are you really getting anything for that though?
Yeah, probably not. Like if
With
something
somebody,
actually happens, but
right?
right.
With workplace violence, that is how it goes now. People acting up in the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
I'd want a more trained staff. You're gonna have to pay more, right?
Right.
You're not going to get a highly trained staff for $10 an hour.
Right.
It's not going to happen. And we've actually proposed that to people. Hey, look, if this is what you want, and this is what you're going to pay, and they always back off because they don't want to pay that much. But if you got the profit coming in and you can afford it, I would protect my assets with a highly trained security force.
I'd pay good money for good protection.
Right.
Yeah.
You got employees that are having mental issues. Maybe they get fired. They come in and try to kill people. You get domestic problems going on inside the workplace.
Yeah.
Happens a lot. We're talking larger corporations too, with a lot of people.
Yeah.
You got people with religious problems. They come in and I wouldn't say problems, religious ideology.
Yeah.
And they come in and try to kill the infidel, those things. So, but people look at security guards as a low man on a totem pole type thing.
They do.
So,
they really do.
And it's a problem. We had an incident over in an area called Boaz where there was an active shooter incident. So active shooters where somebody comes in and starts killing people, as many people as possible before they die themselves, typically.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And it was a domestic situation where husband and wife worked there, and the wife was cheating on her husband with another guy in the workplace.
Yeah.
So he came in to kill the guy.
Ooh.
All right. And he walked right in through the guard shack, all these things with a gun, and walked in and killed 2 people and injured another one before killing himself. All right.
Oh my gosh.
What do you think of that?
I think that's insane. So what you're doing, are you putting together, are you just analyzing their current security and then, telling them how to make it better? Or are you like redoing I don't know.
I'm investigating the incident in this case.
Okay.
So the incident, so one of the guys that got killed, or no, he didn't get killed, he got paralyzed. He's sued Mueller, the big company, for not having a reasonable expectation of security.
Got you.
All right. So somebody can just walk in with a gun and start blasting.
Yeah.
That was the thing. So they hired me. The law firm that he hired me, and I went through this security company's hiring process. I acted like an applicant, went on Indeed, applied, went through their training program on their site with a hidden camera.
Whoa.
Is that legal, Victoria?
Well, yeah.
It's just sneaky, right?
As long as you don't have audio.
So I can have audio because I was there too.
Oh, right. Okay.
I was there too.
Yeah.
And the lawyer, the law firm, they cleared it. They said, yeah, this is fine. And went through 2 days of training, went through the interview process, everything, and recorded everything. Not one aspect of their training involved active shooter training.
That's a problem.
It is.
Yeah.
And there were some gigantic holes in their interview process of how they hire people and how they screen people coming into the building, into the facility.
Mm-hmm.
So all that was shown, and this kid was awarded a nice sum of money.
Good.
Okay. And so that's a corporate investigation. Now, what you're getting into is the prior to that, like going into the company and giving them an security assessment.
Do you do that? Is that part of it?
I have before. I've done that.
Okay.
I can do that. I can come in and give you an assessment of your security from top to bottom, security assessment all the way to your IT.
That's
right.
Cool.
So part of that is we've done it. I did it for a bank and found a significant gap in their online security. Is that a big deal with today's banking world, Victoria?
Oh, huge.
What do you think they did about it?
I would assume they hired you to fix it, right? Or someone that can.
No. They got one of their internal employees to try to patch it, but they didn't. I could still get in. I could go in and see everything going on.
Oh my gosh.
And told the CEO multiple times, hey, look, this is a problem.
Oh
right
my
there.
goodness. They just ignored it.
They just ignored it. Yeah. Still there now. But because I was going to, the fee for me to fix it and to get it patched and to train another employee to do it was $6,000.
That's really not that bad if talking about everyone's information getting
right.
out. Yeah.
This company has over $100 million in people's assets they're holding at the bank.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's not a
What's
big deal.
$6,000 to that? Yeah.
I'm not going to say the bank, but if it got out, they would probably start making phone calls saying, "Hey, you need to fix this." So people with money
Yes.
there.
That's scary.
But yeah, it's we do the. I can do the security assessment, where I
Yeah.
come in and do everything and give you a full report of what's going on. I did it for several companies, and they took no action on it. So they said it's too expensive. We're
Wow.
talking less than $10,000 to fix some of these holes,
They could cause major problems.
especially when you're talking the loss of life type thing.
Really?
So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's part of the some of the corporate investigations we've done. We're going to come back with part 2 of this and get into some heading off some of these issues before it happens
Sweet.
and how we can help with that. All right.
Love it.
All right. Hey, I get a lot of calls from people that say, "Hey, I looked on Been Verified, Scope Now, Truth Finder, White Pages, all these different sites, saying, hey, I found some information on a person, but when I followed up on it, it wasn't accurate." That's because those cheap and free services are give you old information. That's the bottom line. We have a service where we give you the same information, but it's real time. You get bankruptcies, divorces, criminal record, if they're a sexual predator, where they live now, current phone numbers, email addresses, usernames, all these things you get in real time. We get this information by using a TLO database that's only available to private investigators, law enforcement, and federal agencies. So if you want real data now and talk to a real investigator now to get information that you need to move forward with your life, please give us a call, 866-910-7499, or you can click the link and fill out your information. That's 866-910-7499, or click the link and fill out your information. We want to help you with real-time data to help you move forward with your life. All right, back for part 2 of this thing.
Hey there.
What do you think about that? My cameras are always there's so much to go through here, Victoria. There's Victoria. Say hi.
You're really I'm just here to talk. You do everything else.
I do all the technical stuff. I switch the cameras, set up the sound.
I'm really not much help.
Victoria just laughs and
I just
ask questions
until you figure it out.
She's a trusty sidekick, though. You know what I mean?
I am a trustworthy sidekick.
You are. You're a trusty sidekick.
It's not useful a lot of the time.
Whatever. Anyways. All right. So we talked about in this first part about an incident with an intellectual property fraud. We talked about a case where guards were defrauding a company.
Yeah.
We talked about where a company had an active shooter incident where they got sued for a bunch because they had bad security procedures and guards and all those things.
Yeah.
Now, what I want to get in this second part is how all that could have been headed off. Now, you're not going to stop all incidents, right? But one thing we do, and I've done it, one thing we do, and I've done it in the past, is the security assessment. Mm-hmm. That's where I come in and do a top to bottom. I'm with you for about a week or two, depending on the size of your facilities and how many facilities you have. And I go through and look at everything from weather events to road access to your building. I look at your security procedures, who gets to come in and who doesn't. How you hire people, I look at all those things. I do some interviews with employees and look at the workplace satisfaction, those kind of things, and try to show you and put everything on a risk level between 1 and 5. 5 being high risk, 1 being low risk, and tell you where you might have some exposure, where you may get somebody steal from you, a workplace violence workplace violence incident, all those type of things. We do a 360-degree look at your company, and including IT too, looking at your digital aspect, how easy it is for people to get in. So the physical part of it, we're looking at everything from how you hire people. That's where we start. We go to human resources. Now, a lot of companies hate it when we get hired, especially the managers.
We're about to call you out.
I'm not here to get somebody fired.
Well, right, but if something's
I'm here to
wrong,
make you better. Yeah, I'm here to make you better. The CEO typically is the one that hires us. A high-level person in the company hires me, and then we start asking questions, and we have to get a buy approval. We have to have something from the CEO saying, hey, this guy's going to come ask you questions. Because if you're the vice president of human resources, and some guys come in and look at your information, we get pushback a lot.
Yeah.
And the CEO has to say, like, no, man, you're going to work with these folks, or you're getting, it's not going to look good. So we have to do that, get some buy-in. And then we start asking human resources, how do you hire people? Let's look at your manuals. Sometimes they don't even have a written policy. Or if they do have a policy, they pull it off the top shelf and blow the dust on it from 1990.
Yeah.
Hey, do you know I'm from the 1900s, Victoria?
Me too.
Are you?
99.
Late 1900s. I'm from the mid 1900s. So anyway, it makes it sound old. So, but yeah, they dust off some policy that has not been updated in decades.
Yeah.
So we get that policy, we go through it, and we give them ideas of how to improve it. If they pay us the right, if put it on the retainer, we even write it for them and tell them some, off trends and ideas from the modern workplace. So a lot of them have it in their mind. We do that in our company. I have a lot of things in my mind that's just not written down, right?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
And I'll get you to say, write that down so we can use it in the future, or record it or whatever.
Yeah.
But we make sure they have the best practices involved to keep their place safe. Now, why would we start with human resources?
I mean, that's probably where all of the problems start.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. It could be that. They start with employees and hiring people too. Mm-hmm. So, our comprehensive search tells them a lot about people.
Yes.
And we can start there. That's not that expensive. And we also look at how they onboard people for employment satisfaction. Onboarding is a big part of that, where how you onboard and integrate somebody into the team is a big part of employment.
It's all good.
Too much. My espresso machine.
You're cranked up.
I was hitting espressos this morning. Your onboarding process and employment satisfaction is a big part of it. Mm-hmm. All right. Employee engagement. We go around and look and see who's engaged and who's not. So if you get people that are not engaged, they are running their side hustles,
right?
Stealing time from you, or they could be stealing from you. They could be taking your intellectual property and creating another business where they're selling it on the side, or have interactions with outside competitors that are getting information from them about how to build this product or this process, you name it, and stealing from them. They're getting paid on the side from these people. That's a combination of just observing and the digital aspect. We look at the emails and use keyword searches and see what's going on. Mm-hmm. So what do you think so far, Victoria?
I think it's such a valuable thing for a company. I feel like who would not want someone to come in and really look at every detail like that?
Yeah.
Who would not want that?
Yeah. So we're private investigators. So we're professional observers, and we have the tools to do this. And we put it all in a package. Then we get to the operations side, the fulfillment side of the business. That's where those employees and those managers the sales have already taken place, and they're producing the product or the service, right? Same there. Employee engagement. We've done it where we're out on the factory floor, and not a lot's going on. A lot of employees, factory floor workers, are standing around talking on their phones, like playing on their phones, talking.
Yeah.
Is that engaged?
No. Okay. Well, engaged with their phone, but not work.
But the one in particular, they had a number up on this rolls of stuff they had to produce, right? They had a number they had to hit, and they're about halfway there, and they're getting ready to clock out for the day. But they've been the 4 hours I was there that afternoon. I recorded a ton of people on their phones.
Jeez.
Machines weren't down, that's one thing, but and they're not going to get their number, and they're just going to go home. But what do you think of that?
I think factory work is so aggressive, and you really have to continuously be doing your work.
You're hustling, man, in factory. I've been in factories before. You're hustling. You're getting after it. We talked to them about the employees were just working by the hour. They weren't getting paid an incentive to finish up. So they talked about that. That does engage employees, by the way. Incentive pay. Hey, hit your number of 100 pieces per day. Yeah. And you get an extra $50 or whatever, you name, whatever it is. They actually implemented that, and we went back, and they were engaged more.
Nice.
Because they wanted that bonus.
Yes. So, who doesn't like money?
Right. Yeah. Victoria does.
Yeah. Incentivize me.
Yeah. And the sales force is one of the worst departments to go out and sell ideas, tell competitors what's going on, give them a leg up on knowing who we've been calling on. They'll pass client list over, prospect list. If there's a prospect, we have a prospect list. If Victoria gave that to one of my competitors and they started calling them, would I be happy?
No, I'd get fired so fast.
And I'd probably come after you with some.
I'd probably be dead the next day.
I'd probably come after you legally and say, "Hey, I need some money back," right? So
you'd sue me for sure.
Right? Yeah, you'd get fired. But we've seen that before, where they're selling client lists out. We had one in Huntsville where we actually posed as a competitor, and they actually emailed us the prospect list. That was back about 5 years ago, and they fired them. So I'm not going to name the company, all those things, but it happens, and it's a real thing. People steal time. They sell your prospect list. They sell your ideas.
Jeez.
And we get in, and anybody thinks about workplace violence. That is part of it. That gets into the security department. All right. So we go in and look at your security procedures. All right. You may not have a security force. It may just be your receptionist is your frontline security, which is fine. If there's one way in and many ways out, that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
But we say, hey, let me see your security protocols. And they're like, I'll show you mine if you show me yours, kind of thing. They don't have them, right?
Right.
And so we write those for them, and then we do rehearsals. We've actually done it before where we rehearsed all these things. So we've actually done active shooter rehearsals, what to do when that happens, all the way down to workplace violence, where we did conflict resolution in the workplace, where we actually had scenarios and people argue back and forth and somebody's acting ornery. It's fun. It's fun to do, and people get into it. They actually engages their mind.
It's like in school, you do fire drills and all of that. Why wouldn't you do the same in the workplace,
when I was in school, we did tornado drills where we sat in a hall and put a book over our head.
Same.
And but the building is made out of concrete blocks.
Yeah.
You think that algebra book was going to stop at concrete block?
Probably. I just think it was maybe it'd help a little. Who knows?
I don't know.
I spent many a days tucked in a little corner.
You come up in the time when you did active shooter drills, right?
Yeah.
We didn't. That wasn't a thing when I was in. But
all that is going to a corner in the classroom
and locking everything down. And we didn't have that. Wasn't a real thing when I was in school, but that's kind of I wouldn't say new, but it's newer.
Yeah. But to me, it's like, why would you not want everyone to know what to do? Like, everyone needs to not be in chaos when something happens. Yeah.
One thing we do before the drill is we take all the employees and walk them to where all the exits are. Show them the exits and how to get there, not to block them, all those things.
Yeah.
All right. The rehearsals like that, we do conflict resolution drills, and we actually help show them how to coordinate with local police and other law enforcement. We'll bring up sheriff and deputy, what's his name, and say, hey, this is them. This is how we get it. And they walk the building. A lot of police departments are very good at that, but some are not. So
I did not know that.
In Alabama, corporations will buy a remote piece of land because it's inexpensive and build a huge manufacturing plant on it.
Yeah.
But they have no idea what police jurisdiction they're in out there, and what the response time is. We've timed it before where we coordinated with the police or the sheriff's department and said, hey, when I call you, this is training, and see how long it takes. And they're shocked to see that it takes 18 minutes for a response.
Yeah.
How much can happen in 18 minutes?
Stuff. Yeah, a lot.
And it helps them get their security policies, refine them, what they're going to do. They may need on-site security, those kind of things.
Yeah.
It wakes them up a little bit. So
it's a good thing.
We've actually done rehearsals with banks before. We've done mock robberies and those things. That's pretty fun.
That does sound fun.
We did some of that last year, beginning of the year. We haven't done it. The one bank that will probably be calling for training coming up shortly, we typically do it once a year with them with some kind of training, and they're very good, and they take it seriously. I've offered this to a lot of other banks, and they said no, they didn't want to pay for it.
So do you get to be the one like robbing it?
Not me. They know me, but one of our investigators they've never seen will come in and play the role play and all that.
Yeah.
We do the rehearsals and the lockdowns and all that, to show up. The big thing they're shocked about is the response time of the police. Now, most police forces have, 5 minutes. If you're in Gadsden, it's probably 5 minutes or so, depending on where the police are. But a lot can go on in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And there's some things that's got to happen there to keep people safe. So what do you think about all this, Victoria? I've kind of gone along. We could do 4 hours on security assessments.
I'm so into the corporation investigations. Okay. I don't know much about it, but I think it's I just keep saying it, but who wouldn't want that?
Right. We did. Oh yeah. You were part of this one, a franchise fraud too, where franchise had a territory and one of his employees quit and opened up a franchise in a neighboring territory pretending to be him. Mm-hmm. Remember that whole deal? Okay. It could be a variety of things. And we would like to talk to corporations about what our capabilities. Yeah. We could even come in and buy some lunch to the staff and say, hey, here's a capabilities brief for you.
Yes.
So we'll be back. We're going to end it here. We're going to be back in a week with some more information from the Hidden Threads podcast, Victoria.
And hit us up for your corporate investigations.
We do them. See you soon.
Yes.